Well, hi everybody, it's me, Mitch. Today I want to show you some of the little tricks that I do to maximize and get the most value out of what food I do buy. And I love ribs, and I want to show you a little trick because I keep in this freezer a bunch of these racks of ribs I buy at Sam's. Baby back ribs, full-size pork ribs. And these things are very thick, and they have some places on them that have a lot of extra meat. And I like to trim them so that the ribs are pretty universal in thickness. And I end up with a lot of scrap pork and fat. Shame to throw that away, so what I do is I take this stuff and I save it. I vacuum seal it, put it in the freezer. When I accumulate maybe 5 or 10 pounds of this, I'm going to show you what I do with it. I made those ribs the other day, and in trimming, these were big ribs, in trimming the meat off of them, I ended up with a bag full of perfectly lovely pork fat and meat trimmings. I've also have some that I've frozen that I previously saved from a few months ago, and I'm going to take this and defrost it, and then I'm going to add this to it, and I'm going to have myself a bunch of pork meat, and I'll show you what I'm going to do with all of it. So we'll come back after it's defrosted. Well, I've got all this pork here. I'm going to cut it up a little bit. I've got this pork from those big ribs I made the other day. There's a lot of meat here. I'm going to grind it all up. So let's start. Let's start getting it ready. And I think for this little operation, I'm going to get myself some gloves, some rubber gloves. And let's start getting this ready. And I want to make sure I don't have chunks of it that are too big. So we'll start with this. These all seem to be okay. There's some fat. I'll put all that in the bowl. And all this meat and fat, I just trimmed off the ribs, and it'd be a real shame to not eat this stuff. So we're just going to grind it up into ground pork, and then maybe make burgers out of it. Maybe combine it with some ground beef. Like a meatloaf. But there's going to be pounds of this stuff here that just came off those ribs. Let's go over to the grinder over here. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. Oh, that's a lot of ground beef right there, and I'm going to grind it all a second time as well to mix it up real good. But first I'm going to mix it up. I need a bigger bowl. I grossly underestimated the amount of ground pork I was going to get out of this. All this came off of those ribs. Couple of different runs. So let's mix this. Let's mix this fat up real good with it. Some of it was just fat, some of it was just meat. I want it all mixed together. So let's mix this all up together. And do I need to really grind it again? It looks pretty well ground up. I think maybe that's enough. Look at that. Pork burgers. Again, the whole idea here is when I trim these ribs that have a lot of excess meat, I want to kind of even them out so that the ribs are all the same thickness, and that requires you cut a lot of meat and fat off. And pounds of this stuff. I said, wow, what a shame it would be to waste all of that meat. And I've been thinking about different things I could do with it. Whether I wanted to take some strips of pork, like tenderloins, and fry them up with pork rind coating on them, or make a big meatloaf, or some hamburger, or pork burger patties. But whatever I do with this, it's perfectly good. Perfectly good meat, probably just about the right fat to protein ratio. So there you go. So that's the first batch of it. Right there. Okay, here comes the second batch of this stuff. So let's fire up this thing again. There it is. There it is. All ground up. I've got a lot of beef here. Excuse me. Got a lot of pork here. So, that's the next step in this, and then we'll come back in a little while and see if we maybe cook a couple of burgers or cook a burger. Test it out, see how it comes out. Just making a burger patty out of this. Put a little salt on it, and away we go. We'll mix it all in together. And a little bit of cleanup, and we are in business. And whatever is left of this pork, I will take and vacuum seal and put it in the freezer. And use it whenever. I think I might just mix it with ground beef and make a big meatloaf out of it. I think that would be one of the best uses. Meatloaf with a combination of meats in it is usually very good. Very good. And putting the pork in with the beef makes it even juicier. So there you go. There you go. That'll do it for now. That'll do it for now. All right, time for my second meal of the day, and I'm going to try it out. For better or worse, I'm going to take about a half a pound of ground beef, make a beef burger. I'm going to take some of this humongous amount of ground pork that I got, make a pork burger, fry them up in a pan, and see how it comes out. I've never had one before. Never took pork, ground it up, and made a burger out of it. So it's going to be interesting. One of two things is going to happen. It's either going to work or it's not. Here we go. Start with the ground beef. Flatten it out. And we'll try some of this pork right here. Try some of this ground pork. Make a burger out of it. A little smaller, but just want to try it and see. So there we go. We got a ground beef burger and a pork burger. Little salt, little Himalayan pink salt from the salt grinder here. my splatter guard out, and we'll be back when it's time to flip them. Okay, looks like they're cooking away. Flip them over here. And the pork burger. Yeah. I hope this comes out good. That would be a lot of ground meat for virtually no extra money. Let's check the temperature on these things. On the beef burger, we're about 135. On the pork, about 150, 57, 63. That's probably coming up on done. $160, I'd say that was done. Let's take that off. Wanted to cook the pork a little hotter, about 165, and it'll rest a little bit and the temperature will come up. The hamburgers, I usually take off about 135 to 40. Another couple of minutes and that'll be up there. But here we have a pork burger, So we'll let that rest for a second and I'll give it a little taste. I have no idea what to expect. It's cooked all the way through, certainly not red or anything. Well, there goes nothing. That, my friends, is incredibly tasty. Incredibly tasty, very good, juicy. I'm surprised. Surprisingly, the flavor is very close to what a ground beef patty tastes like. So I've got the pork patty over here and the hamburger patty over here, and I'm going to set it down right here for a second. And I'm going to cut each one of them in half so we can see what they look like on the inside. Let's cut the beef patty open and see what it looks like. All right, I think that'll give us a comparison there. So what we've got here is the beef is a little red, which is exactly how I like it. The pork patty is cooked all the way through. This is going to be my second meal of the day. They're both delicious. They're both delicious. What a great surprise. And I don't see any reason not to mix these up, throw some egg and some pork rind crumbs in them, make a big 5-pound, one of my 5-pound meatloaves, throw some bacon strips on top of it, and bake it in the oven. And I may do that tomorrow. And that usually gives me 5 or 6 meals from that as well. Reclaimed rib meat turned into really tasty burgers. Just another little trick, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was somewhat different for you. And if you like ribs and you make a lot of ribs and you trim them beforehand, here's something you can do with the meat so you don't waste it. There was enough ground pork in there for at least 5 meals, maybe more. Incredible. Well, thanks for watching. And as usual now, you can take the rest of the day off and eat meat.